Zimbabwe cash crisis worse.
Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 doing this thing here called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD News updates. And as you can tell from today's title, the pension crisis update, and the fact that I'm surrounded by various news stories, we're going to be covering the ongoing crisis in this country when it comes to pensions and some of the solutions that's been put forth on how to resolve some of these matters. But before I dive into that, I want to invite you tonight to join me for RTD Live Talk at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, where we will cover subjects such as this pension situation, as well as the crypto market, as well as whatever else is on your mind that you want to voice opinion about. So tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we're going to get together for a live talk. Looking forward to have you join me. And also, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button for more RTD News updates, as well as live talks and interviews, and as well visit the rethinkingthedollar.com website, where you get a chance to test your monetary IQ, which is basically a way of just positioning you to understand some monetary things surrounding the dollar, as well as get a free ebook there called The Simplicity of Money that gives a little bit of a background of our monetary system, as well as, more importantly, once you're done with that, visit the RTD University site, where I put together all my prior interviews to give you more in-depth insight into our monetary matters, as well as a chance to give you a little bit more information on the importance of sound money, as well as other alternatives for this current monetary world we're living in. So without further ado, let's dive into some of these articles. So today I have 7 articles I want to skim through, just basically give you an idea of what's on the surface. But as always, I want to encourage you to take the time for yourself to actually scroll down below and click on some of those links so that you can get a better understanding as to what's actually inside the articles. My goal is to give you something short and concise, just to scan the top, and then at the very end wrap it up with my thoughts on how it all connects to what's currently happening now with the dollar, as well as the expectations of a lot of broken promises in the future. So the very first one is from the Herald Leader, and it says Republicans may reveal their pension bill to nervous retirees as soon as Monday, and this was as of last week. Next one here is from the Press Telegram, and it says Governor Brown is right to focus on a pension crisis. The next one here is from Chicago Tribune, and it says proposed $107 billion bond isn't the cure for Illinois' public pension crisis. Next one here is from WHAS and 11, and it says bill proposed to balance pension crisis. Next one is from the Sacramento Bee, and it says the state worker pension costs unsustainable, California city says. Next one here is from the Courier Journal, and it says devastating cut could mean some retired Kentucky teachers paid thousands more in insurance. The next one here is from Wave 3 News. It says casino gaming, one potential solution to Kentucky's pension crisis. And so the very first one here, as always, skim through the top and give you something to think about. So Republicans may reveal their pension bill to nervous retirees as soon as Monday. So give you an idea of what's going on. It says a long-awaited bill to overhaul Kentucky's financial ailing public pension system could be filed as soon as Monday, House Speaker Pro said on Friday. It says Osborne said Republican House leaders are still receiving details about the financial cost of their proposal, but if their pension questions are answered with the latest round of information, they hope to unveil this bill on Monday. Scroll down some more. As lawmakers await the results of a complex actual analysis that spells out how much money any proposed changes would cost the state. Osborne said House leaders are having conversations about whether it's worthwhile to make changes to the pension system that will put more pressure on the budget this year in order to lower the cost of state pension bills 30 years from now. It says, for example, if the legislature were to require the Kentucky teacher retirement system to change its funding formula this year, it could cost the state an additional $400 million, according to Jason Bailey. There's some legislation pending, which will be more so the proposal of having the teachers take on more of the responsibility by shifting everyone that's coming into the system now to more of a 401k basis type of retirement plan. So that's kind of the legislation that I'm sure is going to not be well received by those that are expecting to have the state take on the burden, not necessarily themselves. So something to dive into further if you're interested for yourself. Next one here, Governor Brown is right to focus on pension crisis. Then it talks about let us now praise Governor Jerry Brown, who is calling for reductions in unsustainable public pensioners. Governor Brown's second term is winding down, and because of term limits, he can't run again. As he exits, Brown is trying to make inroads on the major pension crisis facing the state of California. It has to do with the current situation with the California rule, and if it's changed, that will allow the politicians to basically make some major overhauls that will impact the current pensioners as well as the future pensioners on how much they'll have to take a haircut or a loss. So if you're interested, feel free to read more for yourself. Hey there, just want to take a quick minute to interrupt this video to remind you to visit the rethinkingthedollar.com website, where you get a chance to see all of my postings as well as educational resources, and as well as visit the RTD store where I have some free material for you as well as some t-shirts. And if you're interested in being more of a blessing to Rethinking the Dollar, I want to encourage you to visit the RTD donation page where I have a couple links there for you to contribute to this alternative media work. Other than that, let's get back to the show. Next one here, proposed $107 billion bond isn't the cure for Illinois' public pension crisis. So to give you an idea what's going on, it says a big bold plan to save the state's debt-strapped public pension fund is floated this week in Springfield. But don't get your hopes up. It's not the cure to Illinois' festering financial crisis. It says an influential state employee advocacy group, the State Universities and Annuities Association, is urging Illinois to issue $107 billion in bonds to pay off shortfalls in the state's 5 leading pension funds. It says, yep, that's a whopping $107 billion backed by taxpayers who will be on the hook, especially if this deal goes bad. So just in and of itself, they want a state that's already bankrupt to issue $107 billion worth of new debt into the system that's going to pass on or kick the can down the road to future workers in the form of the children to pay for current liabilities today. So the idea of issuing more debt to pay off debt, it will not work. Next one here. Bill proposed to balance pension crisis. So give you an idea what's going on here, I'll let you listen to it.
Balance the pensions with pot and expanded gaming. Two of the most hotly debated ways to solve the pension crisis were on display at the Capitol today. Supporters of those two different proposals touted their plans to bring hundreds of millions of dollars to a Commonwealth in need of more than $1 billion more per year. Our political editor, Chris Williams, with the very latest now from Frankfurt.
So I'll stop right there. That says it all. They're proposing to have gaming and pot to generate millions to pay off billions. So the idea that they're going to legalize pot and make it more of a tax-worthy opportunity for the government as well as gaming will only impact the children, the younger generation, who will probably be the ones that are utilizing the pot to smoke. And so that's going to be money coming from the kids as well as the gaming, which the kids more likely may get addicted to. So the idea of generating millions to pay billions will not work, but yet that's kind of some of the things that they're putting forth right now as solutions to this deficits that they're encountering with these pensions, based upon the idea that 20, 30 years ago promises were made to people now that it's time to pay it out, but yet the money's not there. So they're going to put the debt burden on the taxpayers now as well as our children. So definitely not going to work, but that's just how serious the situation is. Next one here is the Sacramento Bee. It says pension cuts unsustainable, California city says. So it just goes through, talks about the report escalates that the League of California Cities appeal for more flexibility in negotiating pension obligations. Almost all of the California cities belong to the $360 billion California Public Employees Retirement System, and some cities over the past year have raised increasingly loud complaints that fee hikes from the pension funds are crowding out other spending priorities. So the idea that there's $360 billion pension system in California that is very short on being able to pay current liabilities or obligations, and so they're hiking fees, which is causing more strain on current workers as well as the younger generation that may not be expecting to receive any type of pension for 10, 20, 30 years, but their current costs to be a part of that system is going up, which only cuts into their disposable income. So definitely not a good solution, but that's what they're rolling out there as an option. Next one here. Devastating cut could mean some retired Kentucky teachers pay thousands more in insurance. So that right there says it all, giving an idea what's going on. Here's a quote here. It says, Abraham said on the proposal, a single teacher drawing a pension of $3,000 a month could pay up to an additional $500 a month for health insurance, which adds up to $6,000 per year. So they're making $3,000 a year, but expected to pay roughly $6,000 a year of that towards health insurance. But that's kind of some of the main stories happening in the headlines. So we have everything from the idea of Illinois is going to issue a $107 billion bond to pay off current obligations, not necessarily the 2, 3, 5 years from now, or nevertheless the future for the people that's going to be expected to receive for themselves. And then you have what's happening in Kentucky with the whole idea of legalizing pot to draw in tax revenue, as well as legalizing gambling, which I believe was only going to really impact the younger generation. So they're going to gear that towards those that are actually, you know, uninformed and not aware of the fact that gambling in and of itself is a way to just to tax you. And then the whole idea of legalizing pot to draw income off the youth will not be well received, because it only kicks the can further down the road, because a couple $100 million in tax revenue will not meet the obligations of billions of dollars that's owed to the retirees currently, as well as those that are entering the retirement age. So these are just some of the solutions that are being thrown out here by politicians that absolutely have no clue on how to resolve this matter, other than just to come to the realization that they will not be able to meet obligations, that everyone who's expecting something will take a haircut or a drastic loss. And so the best thing they could do is just be honest and upfront and let people know that, hey, because of politicians before us, they made promises that will not be able to be lived up to. So let's come to some type of agreement on how we can help you to live comfortably as you get older, realizing that you won't be able to receive every single thing. I believe will be a much more honest approach, but yet the truth is going to hurt anyway. Whether it comes, you know, this year, next year, down the line, when people actually realize that there is nothing there to draw upon, and they do receive pennies on the dollar, if that, because the states more than likely will end up probably leading with Kentucky or Illinois have to file for some form of bankruptcy, which will wipe it out automatically from the books of the government. So, and then it's going to become a federal problem, because a lot of states are going to do the same thing, and then the federal government's going to have to get involved, and they're going to pass some type of emergency measure to basically print more money to issue it out directly to the public or pensioners. And then that's when the whole UBI situation kicks in, or the UBA, as I call it, the Universal Basic Allowance, where they're going to issue money to the pensioners as well as to the working class as well, to make it somewhat fair for everyone. For everyone. And then that's when all hell will break loose, with the idea of just too much money floating around, and money velocity increasing, inflation picking up. So that's kind of what's happening in the news. Just want to share a couple stories with you, what's happening on the surface. But of course, as always, scroll down below to get a more in-depth look into those articles for yourself. But that's the pension crisis update for this month. So I'll keep you posted as time moves forward and as more news and more stories develop. So look forward to having you join me tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time for RTD Live Talk. Let's cover some of these matters here, as well as whatever else is on your mind. Looking forward to chit-chatting tonight. See you later.